Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into what makes a movie truly film noir.
Right. And we're trying to go beyond just, the usual suspects, the rainy streets, the femme fatale. Those are iconic, sure.
Absolutely. But this article we're looking at suggests there's something, deeper going on. Our mission today is to figure out that real essence.
And one thing that jumped out right away from the source is how noir doesn't, announce itself.
Exactly. It doesn't wave a flag. Instead, it sort of creeps up on you, doesn't it? Pulls at your sense of trust, what's right and wrong.
Yeah, until you find yourself feeling almost complicit, like you're part of it, not just watching.
Which is a really different way to think about watching a film, I think. So if it's not just the look, what is it?
Well, this is where the article makes a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, it says, noir isn't a genre, it's a diagnosis. That really makes you stop and think, because we usually lump it in with, say, westerns or horror.
Right. But calling it a diagnosis suggests it's more like a psychological state, or a condition within the story's world.
A moral diagnosis, I think they called it?
Exactly. It's about the fundamental worldview. And they offer this interesting test, actually.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Basically, take away the obvious stuff, the crime, the guns, the shadows, strip all that away.
Okay.
And then ask, is the story still about human weakness? About moral lines blurring? About that point where self-interest just totally overrides decency?
Oh, I see. So if the answer is yes,
then you're likely looking at noir, even if it doesn't look like the classic examples.
That makes sense. The source compares defining it as a genre to calling a midlife crisis a genre of person. It's more fundamental.
It's pervasive, yeah.
And that really opens things up, doesn't it? The article gives examples like, No Country for Old Men, that's a Western.
Or Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Right. Or films like Ace in the Hole or Brick. It's not about the setting.
The source puts it really well. The infection is in the morality, not the decor.
I like that. The infection isn't the trench coat, it's the worldview underneath.
And that worldview is, it's pretty bleak when you get down to it.
Yeah, what is the core of that?
Noir suggests the universe isn't really keeping score. It's not waiting to reward good or punish evil. It's just there. It's indifferent.
And the characters.
They're often just caught in this grind, sort of trapped between what they want self-interest and what will probably destroy them self-destruction.
So it's all internal, really, the moral failure. There's no easy way out, no simple redemption arc waiting.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It definitely strips away any comforting ideas about everything working out for the good guys.
So for you listening, think about how that feels as a viewer. You ever get that sinking feeling, when a character knows the truth, but doing the right thing is just impossible or too costly?
Or maybe you've caught yourself, quietly hoping a character makes the wrong choice because the right one just feels so pointless in their situation.
Yeah. According to this article, that feeling, that's noir right there. You felt it.
Exactly. So this deep dive really shows noir is much more than just a visual style guide. It's this pervasive condition, this worldview that can pop up anywhere.
Any story, any genre. It's fascinating.
It really is.
And people often say noir is just, dark or pessimistic, like the universe itself is out to get the characters.
Right. That's the common take.
But when you actually dig into it, the sources suggest something quite different, maybe even more unsettling. It's not that the universe is malicious.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive, really. To unpack that difference. It seems subtle, but it's crucial, isn't it? The gap between a universe that hates you and one that just doesn't care.
Doesn't care at all.
Understanding that indifference, that's the key, I think, to really getting why noir characters feel so uniquely trapped. It's not always a villain doing it to them. It's reality.
So if it's not a villain, this indifference, what does that actually feel like in the films? There's no big bad cosmic force, just nothingness.
Pretty much, yeah. Think of the characters as just debris. Floating along in this cold current.
Debris. Wow.
Yeah. And if you happen to sink, the current just keeps flowing. The world doesn't pause. It doesn't even really notice you're gone.
That's different from, say, a horror film.
Oh, completely.
Right.
In horror, something's often actively hunting you. There's intent.
Right.
In noir, often.
Yeah.
Nobody's specifically chasing you from the start. You just zigged when you should have zagged, made a bad call, maybe trusted the wrong person.
And the world just lets you fall. No safety net.
Exactly. Watches you go under without blinking. That's the chilling part.
That really lands. It makes me think of that poker analogy we found, playing against the house.
Ah, yes, that's a perfect illustration. The dealer, they don't hate you for sitting at their table.
No, they're just doing their job.
Right. They probably don't even know your name, don't care if you win or lose a hand. But the game itself, the structure, it's rigged.
Inherently, towards the house.
Inherently. The odds are set up so that, over time, the house comes out ahead. And if you lose everything, bust out.
The dealer just shuffles up for the next person.
Precisely. Doesn't miss a beat. Your ruin is completely insignificant to the system. That indifference is the noir universe.
Okay, so that's the feeling, the philosophy behind it. But how does that, manifest visually? Or in the story itself? It can't just be an idea floating around.
Oh, absolutely not. It's woven into the very fabric, the style. Think about the classic visuals, those rain-slicked streets at night.
Yeah, always raining.
Always raining, always dark. Shadows everywhere, right?
Light barely seems to penetrate. It's like the world itself is literally casting people into darkness, obscuring things.
Keeping secrets.
Keeping secrets, or just not illuminating anything helpful. And then there's the voiceover. So common in noir.
Right. The narration, usually pretty fatalistic.
Totally fatalistic. The character is often telling you how doomed they are, almost accepting it before it even fully unfolds. They know the game is rigged.
And even the femme fatale. She's iconic, but maybe not always the root cause. That's a great point. Often she's more of a catalyst, isn't she? Another piece of that indifferent machinery. She might trigger the hero's downfall, but she's also caught in the same world. She didn't necessarily create his doom. She just revealed it or accelerated it. The system was already set against him.
The system, not necessarily her plotting everything from step one. Okay, that paints a picture. So, given this world, this profound indifference, what does that do to the characters? How do they cope?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
How do you live in a world that fundamentally doesn't care about you? And the sources sort of point to three main ways people react.
Okay.
Some fight it. They struggle against the current, like that detective who just won't stop digging, even when everything tells him to stop, even when it's clearly hopeless.
The doomed idealist, maybe?
Kind of, yeah. Then there are others who try to game the system. They think they can be smarter than the house.
The con artist, the gambler.
Exactly. Or the femme fatale herself, trying to manipulate things to her advantage. But ultimately, the universe doesn't play favorites. The house still tends to win.
And the third way.
The third way is, maybe blending in, accepting it, becoming part of that cool machinery, or just finding a way to exist within it without making waves, accepting your insignificance almost.
Oh, fight, game, or blend.
Those seem to be the core responses.
Yeah.
And that acceptance or rejection of the world's indifference, that really drives their choices, their actions, and ultimately their fate.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up then. So the core takeaway from this deep dive, film noir's world isn't evil, not actively malevolent. It's just indifferent.
Profoundly indifferent.
It doesn't care if you win, lose, live, die. You're just
Debris.
Right. And that's key. It's different from having a specific monster or villain after you. It's almost worse somehow.
It can feel that way, and it loops back perfectly to that poker game, doesn't it? The dealer isn't your enemy, but the game is rigged, your loss. It doesn't even cause a ripple. And because of that indifference, the characters learn or have to accept that the world owes them nothing. No explanations, no second chances.
Which forces them into one of those paths. Fight, game the system, or just blend in.
Exactly. And we're focusing on something pretty specific, drawing from this really insightful article, how the camera itself becomes like a co-conspirator.
That's right. Yeah, our mission here is to really explore how noir cinematography isn't just about looking pretty or setting a mood. It actively hides things. It messes with your perspective. And it makes you, the viewer, part of the story, often in a way that feels, complicit.
Okay, complicit. So let's unpack that. The article says in most films, the camera is just an observer, right? Impartial. But in noir, it's in on the crime, even guilty. How exactly does that work? What's it doing differently?
Well, the key thing is it's not always playing fair with you. It's not just showing the action. Sometimes it's deliberately hiding parts of it. It adds to the mystery that way, the moral ambiguity. It might obscure the truth instead of just laying it all out.
Right, which leads straight into this idea the source mentioned, compromised framing. That sounds, counterintuitive for filmmaking, doesn't it? You want people to see.
Exactly. But noir often goes for the most compromised view, not the clearest one. Think about how often you see scenes shot through things, like sliced by doorways, or Venetian blinds are a classic.
Oh, yeah, the blinds.
Or stair railings, maybe banisters, sometimes just an object in the foreground, or even someone's shoulder blocking part of the shot, or looking through, warped glass.
It really does feel like that, doesn't it? Like you've sort of stumbled onto something private, almost like you're peeking, like you shouldn't be looking, but you kind of can't help it. It puts you in this position of, spying or eavesdropping. Makes you feel complicit, like you said, a bystander who knows too much.
And that's the crucial difference the article points out. Most movies, they want you to look, see everything clearly, but Noir wants you to pry. It invites you to lean in to try and see past the obstruction.
Okay.
And the moment you start prying, you're not just a passive observer anymore. You're in it. You're part of the setup, as the article calls it. You're in on the secret.
That makes sense. It's the effort you have to make, the intentional block that makes it feel illicit. It's not just showing you, it's making you work to see.
Precisely. It's the intentionality behind making the view difficult. It forces your engagement in a way that feels, a bit forbidden.
Okay, let's shift to lighting then. The article had a really interesting take here. It's not just about mood lighting.
Not just mood, no. It suggests that light in noir doesn't really illuminate truth so much as it interrogates it.
Interrogates? How so?
Think of a single harsh spotlight.
Yeah.
It's not gently asking, what's over here? It's more like it's demanding, what are you hiding? Like pinning a character down like a suspect under a lamp in an interrogation room. That's the feeling.
Oh, okay.
And the shadows are not just for atmosphere. The article puts it brilliantly. They erase evidence. They conceal just as much as, or maybe even more than, the light reveals.
That is sneaky.
Yeah.
And maybe the sneakiest part is what the article calls the camera's shifting allegiance. It's not always on the protagonist's side.
Not at all, no. Sometimes the camera will just linger on a character telling a lie. It's almost like it's winking at you, the viewer, letting you in on the con. Or maybe it watches someone's downfall from like a cold, objective distance. It doesn't step in, doesn't offer a sympathetic close-up. It just observes their ruin.
Which brings us right back to complicity, doesn't it? You're seeing things you feel you maybe shouldn't. You're seeing the lie, seeing the downfall, and let's be honest, part of you is kind of captivated by it, maybe even enjoying the forbidden peak.
Exactly. You're drawn deep into this morally murky world, and your own perspective is constantly being shaped, manipulated by where that camera decides to look, or maybe decides not to look.
So wrapping this up then, the camera in film noir is really doing something unique. It's using these techniques, compromised framing, that interrogative light, the shifting loyalty, to pull you, the viewer, out of your seat. You're not just passively watching a story unfold. You become involved, maybe even complicit in what's happening on screen.
Yeah, and that leaves us with a really interesting question to think about, doesn't it? If the noir camera makes you complicit by getting you to pry, well, how might that change how you watch other movies, even films where the camera claims to be totally impartial? What other little visual tricks, what subtle cues might be out there inviting you to do more than just look? Something to keep an eye out for next time you're watching anything, really.
Those great shadowy crime dramas.
Exactly. And specifically how time itself becomes this kind of relentless, almost insidious predator within them.
Yeah.
Our source material for this dive, it really pulls back the curtain on this, chilling idea, challenges what you might think about tension in movies.
It really does. And what's fascinating, and our source points this out right away, is how noir just flips our usual understanding of time.
How so?
Well, it's not measured by, fast action or a ticking bomb countdown. Not really.
Okay.
Instead, time in noir moves at the speed of consequence. That's the key.
Consequence.
Yeah. The suspense isn't like, will they defuse the bomb in time?
Yeah.
It's much quieter. It's how long until that bad choice they made way back in Act 1 finally catches up.
Ah, okay. Like in Double Indemnity.
Exactly like that. Fred McMurray's narration, it tells you from the start, he's doomed. So the suspense isn't if he gets caught.
It's how it all unravels for him.
Precisely, how he undoes himself.
That's a really powerful distinction. And it explains why so many of these films start at the end, maybe. Or use flashbacks.
Definitely.
Okay.
It's not just a clever trick, a narrative gimmick.
Right.
As the source puts it, it's basically a confession.
A confession.
Yeah. The story's already lost. The characters, they're already caught. We, the audience, are just finding out how they walked right into that web.
So there's this sense of inevitability right from the beginning.
Like, totally. And if you think about it, it highlights what makes noir dread so unique. Most thrillers, time is like this loud, obvious stopwatch. Urgent, blaring.
Yeah, get to the chopper.
Right. But noir time, it doesn't tick like that. It stalks. Yeah, it's patient. An unseen force, sort of, doesn't chase you down the street. It's more like it follows you home.
Okay.
Maybe waits outside while you pour a drink. Just knowing with this grim certainty that eventually you'll make the wrong move, or that your past mistakes will finally come knocking.
Like a spider, just like, watch.
Watching you weave your own web, thread by inevitable thread. It's slow, agonizing.
So the tension isn't the classic, will they make it? It's that creeping feeling. How long until what they did catches up?
Exactly. And that's why they mess with the chronology so much.
Opening at the end, the flashbacks.
It's all part of that confession.
Yeah.
It shows you they're already trapped. We're just rewinding the tape to see how they stepped into it.
It kind of strips away their agency, doesn't it? Makes the choices feel faded.
It does. Which raises the question, what kind of trap are we talking about here? When time is the predator.
Right. It's not always a hail of bullets at the end.
No, the source makes that clear.
Yeah.
The trap doesn't always spring with like a big violent burst or some grand reveal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's much quieter, more internal.
How so?
Like a phone that stops ringing because no one calls anymore. Or that moment you glance in the mirror and realize, you've lost the last bit of yourself you actually respected. Time is the ultimate predator because it doesn't need to kill you fast. It can just stand back and watch. Watch as you slowly, maybe meticulously, undo yourself, piece by piece.
As your choices just ripen into something bitter.
Yeah. Bitter fruit is a good way to put it.
So what does this all mean for the characters stuck in this? It sounds pretty bleak.
It is bleak.
In the end, you don't really escape noir time, do you?
No. You only buy moments, maybe some borrowed time.
And those moments, as our source reminds us, they often cost a lot more than you think. Paid for with dread, maybe?
Yeah.
Spiritual decay?
Yeah, escalating dread sounds about right. It's a steep price.
So summing up this deep dive then.
Our deep dive really shows time in noir isn't just background. It's active, inescapable, and profoundly patient. It kind of orchestrates the character's downfall, letting their own choices mature into these quiet, inevitable consequences.
A relentless current, pulling them towards a fate they basically shape themselves.
That's it, perfectly.
So if time in noir just quietly stalks, watches characters undo themselves, what might that suggest about our own choices? The long silent shadow they could cast, what kind of moments are we maybe buying in our own lives, and what's the unseen cost down the line?
That's something to think about.
That's only something to mull over.
And we're looking specifically at villains, but maybe challenging how we usually think about them.
Right.
Because, when you picture a villain, maybe from superhero movies or big blockbusters, what comes up?
It's usually someone exceptional, isn't it?
Exactly, like a criminal mastermind or some mad scientist with a huge tragic backstory.
Or this once-in-a-generation threat, maybe living in a giant volcano lair or something.
Yeah, these really larger-than-life figures, almost forces of nature.
But here's where film noir gets really interesting. It basically flips that completely. Our sources pointed to something pretty surprising, actually. In noir, the villains, they aren't monsters. They're management.
Management.
Yeah, they're not these rare, unique evils. They're routine.
Wow, okay. Not monsters, but management. That definitely reframes things. So what makes that kind of villain so scary then? If they're just routine.
Well, it's precisely because they're so normal. That's the terrifying part, isn't it? I mean, think about the examples the sources gave us. It's like the guy's skimming money from the books, or the politician with one too many friends in construction.
Right, okay, familiar types.
Totally. Or the businessman who thinks collateral damage sounds professional. And it goes on, The bank executive who launders mob money, maybe the politician who signs contracts without really reading the fine print.
Or even, I think one source mentioned the business owner who just shrugs when his product kills people.
Because the payout is cheaper than doing a recall. Yeah, it's that kind of chilling calculation.
That is, that's deeply unsettling. Because it means they aren't hiding in caves or wearing capes.
Yeah.
They're sitting in offices. Probably, like you said, management offices with nicer furniture than yours.
Exactly. And that creates the specific kind of dread.
How so? What's the impact?
Well, the really unnerving thing our sources dig into is that these people, they're often not even breaking the rules.
Wait, how does that work?
In a way, they are the rules. The system itself might be set up to benefit them. It's like law and crime aren't really opposites in noir. They're just different departments in the same big company.
Huh. Like one part writes the contracts.
And the other enforces them with, less official methods.
Brass knuckles, maybe?
Could be. And the people at the very top, they might not care how it gets done, just that the paperwork looks clean and the profits keep rolling in.
So it's less about individual bad guys, maybe, and more about the whole system being compromised.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. The fear isn't just a rotten apple, it's at the barrel itself.
And does that mean the hero, the protagonist, can they even win? Or is that part of the bleakness of noir?
That's spot on. Our sources suggest that, unlike fighting a typical monster villain where you can have a clear win against this management system, the noir protagonist often just gets tangled up. They might expose something, sure, but dismantling the whole structure, that's rare.
Because the power isn't in one person. It's woven into the system.
It's pervasive, much harder to just defeat in a final showdown.
It really highlights how familiar these villains feel, though. They're not larger than life at all.
No, they're exactly life-size.
They could be the person ahead of you grabbing coffee, the one you chat with about golf on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And all the while, they've been running the game quietly, profitably, for years.
Completely unseen sometimes.
And maybe that's the real fear in noir, why it still gets under our skin.
Yeah.
It's not that evil is lurking out there in the shadows, waiting to jump out.
Where?
It's sitting right there, under the bright fluorescent lights, filing reports, getting promoted, just part of everyday life. So it makes you think, doesn't it? If the most dangerous forces aren't these grand, obvious monsters, but maybe the ones quietly operating as management.
Right. Within the structures we see every day.
What does that suggest about where real power and maybe real danger actually resides in our own world? How does knowing this noir perspective make you question who might really be running the whole game?
So, have you ever watched one of those classic film noirs and just felt uneasy? Like the characters try to do something decent and it just blows up in their face.
Oh, absolutely. It's a hallmark of the genre, isn't it?
Yeah. And today we're going to dig into our source material. Really try to uncover this hidden rule about morality in noir. What do these worlds actually run on?
It's fascinating stuff. We're moving beyond just, standard film chat here. We're looking at a fundamental mechanic. And the big idea, the one that really jumps out from the sources, is this. In film noir, morality is a currency.
Morality.
Yeah.
As currency. Okay, that's a phrase. Because usually stories tell us good deeds pay off, right? Virtue wins.
Exactly. But noir just flips that completely. Our sources are pretty clear on this.
So how does it work then? What does doing the right thing look like in noir, according to the material?
Well, it's presented not as a win, but as an invoice. You do something good, expect a bill.
An invoice.
Yeah. Yeah, and the sources stress every decent act comes with a cost, and it's always more than you can afford. It's brutal.
Wow.
And what's really key, the actual currency, the thing everyone's trading, it's not money, it's leverage. Every single choice affects your leverage.
Leverage, right. So, okay, if a good act is an invoice, how does that practically play out for a character? Can a small good deed really wreck their moral bank account?
Totally. That's the whole trap. Think about trying to help someone out, maybe cover for them just a little bit. Seems okay, right?
Yeah, maybe even noble.
But in noir, that first small compromise, that act of shielding someone, it starts draining you. Each step further into lies or complicity just digs the hole deeper. The cost isn't just, getting caught. It eats away at who you are.
That's bleak. So characters aren't always just choosing badly. Sometimes the virtuous path is just ruinously expensive.
Precisely.
Which brings up a big question. Why do they bend, compromise, or flat out break so often? It's not always pure evil driving them.
No, often it's not. Our sources really highlight that it's because the moral choice is the expensive choice. It's baked into the world.
It's the system itself.
Right. The material uses this powerful analogy. Being good is like spending your last coin on a stranger's meal. Feels good for a moment. Maybe you sleep better for a night, but guess what?
Tomorrow you're still broke.
Tomorrow you're still broke. Exactly. Sustained goodness is just unaffordable in that system.
Okay, so it's not just a tough calculation. It sounds like quicksand. Because what happens when they start thinking of integrity as just another resource, something you can spend, or maybe even borrow against?
Now you're getting to the really dangerous part. Treating morality like credit.
Yeah.
That's where the sources say it spirals. One compromise makes the next one easier, maybe even necessary. You start building this unpayable debt.
Like a character who keeps lying, maybe,
Yeah.
and each lie requires 3 more.
Exactly like that. It's this constant manipulation, trying to gain an edge, trading bits of truth or trust, but eventually, the sources say, the collection agents show up.
Not literal agents, I'm guessing.
No, it's the situation closing in. It's the inevitable consequence, the betrayal that was always coming, the inescapable fate. It's the universe, kind of, calling in the debt incurred by all those compromises.
Wow.
It just reinforces that grim idea. Integrity isn't free, it's a luxury item. And the sources add, once it's sold off, you can't buy it back no matter how good the deal looks. It's gone. Permanent damage.
Yeah.
Leads right to their downfall.
So putting this all together, what does this mean for you watching these films, understanding this kind of transactional view of morality? It really adds layers, doesn't it? It deepens your appreciation for the darkness, the fatalism.
It really does.
It's not just cool shadows and dangerous dames. It's about a world where being good is a burden, a cost most people just can't bear.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe the thought to leave you with is, consider where else you see this dynamic play out. Beyond film noir, where else might this idea of morality as a kind of scarce, costly currency apply? Think about the choices you see people making, maybe even in the real world, and ask, what's the real cost there?
Fascinating genre.
For zeroing in on something specific, item number 7 in What Defines Noir. It's about romance, but maybe not how you'd expect.
The love is transactional, but not hopeless angle.
Exactly. So our mission really is to get past the usual ideas and see how love actually works in Noir's world. It's complicated.
It really is. Yeah.
Okay, so you hear noir, you often think femme fatale, right? The deadly woman pulling the strings.
That definitely comes up a lot.
But our sources, they kind of push back on that. They call it lazy shorthand, suggests not every woman in noir fits that mold.
Yeah, it's a common trope, but it's not the whole story. The reality is, well, romance in noir, it's almost always connected to something else.
Like what?
Leverage, opportunity, sometimes just, basic survival.
So it's not that the feelings aren't there necessarily.
Not always, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the love is fake, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's never pure. There's always another layer, another motive, maybe.
And, the really interesting bit from the sources, they say that this mix, this entanglement with self-interest, it actually makes noir love feel more human.
Right, because real relationships aren't always neat and tidy, are they? They're often messy.
That's a really different way to look at it. It sort of reframes the whole thing.
It does. Think about the world these characters live in. It's an ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love exists alongside money, danger, trying to get ahead, trying to just stay afloat.
So people connect because they need something from each other, not just affection.
Often, yeah. Could be safety. Could be an escape route, an alibi maybe, or even just, like the source says, a reason to get out of bed. It's practical in a dark sort of way.
Does that mean genuine feelings are just like off the table? Is it all cold calculation?
No, not necessarily. And that's key. The feelings can be totally real, intense even, but they're tangled.
Tangled. How so?
Like 2 people could share this incredibly tender moment, really connect. And then maybe the very next day, one betrays the other.
Ouch. So the affection was real, but
affection just wasn't the only thing in play. Survival kicks in, or greed, or fear. Affection is never the sole factor.
okay, I think I get it.
There's this great analogy in the sources that says, if love is a house in noir, it's built on land someone else already owns.
And the rent is due.
Wow. Powerful, right? It captures that feeling perfectly. It's borrowed time, conditional affection.
The analogy really gets to the sadness of it all, the tragedy, but also maybe a hint of hope. Is that fair?
I think so. Absolutely. Because the really moving part, the human part, is that people still go for it. They reach for that connection anyway.
Even knowing the risks, knowing it might blow up in their faces.
Exactly. Even knowing it's conditional, knowing it's dangerous. They still fall for each other in these, dimly lit bars or lonely train stations. They risk everything.
What for what?
For a shot at something human, a real connection, however brief, however compromised it might be.
And maybe that's why noir romance sticks with you, more than some big sweeping Hollywood love story sometimes.
Could be. It feels grounded in a certain kind of reality.
It's not about finding the one, the perfect soulmate. It's more like Finding anyone who feels like a lifeline when you're drowning.
A lifeline in a place where lifelines are pretty damn scarce.
Yeah. And if it ends badly, if they betray you or just disappear, well,
yeah,
you kind of knew the odds going in, didn't you?
You did. There's a stark honesty to it.
So, okay, let's wrap this up. Thinking about this transactional, maybe desperate kind of love in noir, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
About what?
About the purity we often look for or expect in our own relationships. If noir's most gripping love stories are built on these conditions, these needs, what about us?
Interesting question.
Yeah, like what invisible rent might we sometimes be paying or maybe even charging in our own closest connections? Something to think about. Our dive into the source material today suggests something really quite unexpected about the endings.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because most people, I think, associate noir with just outright tragedy. You expect this big, dramatic collapse, death, betrayal, maybe the protagonist just walking off alone, totally defeated.
Right, the big finale.
But our research points to something else, something, well, maybe more unsettling than just a big bang at the end.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To kind of unpack how noir endings often aren't necessarily tragic in that explosive way. Instead, they leave you feeling uncomfortable, really deeply uncomfortable. It's less about that explosion and more about this subtle kind of creeping erosion.
Erosion, I like that. So if it's not the big tragic bang, how does this erosion thing work? How does it make us feel so uneasy?
Well, yeah.
What our sources suggest is that the ending doesn't have to be tragic, but it absolutely must be uncomfortable. They use this great analogy, like you don't walk away clean. It feels like sandpaper, leaves you feeling a bit raw. But how does a film actually do that? Especially if the protagonist seems to sort of win.
That's the fascinating part, how that erosion plays out.
Yeah.
The character might actually get what they wanted. It could be a promotion, maybe a partner, some small victory.
Right. On the surface, success.
Exactly. But it comes at a cost nobody's willing to name out loud.
Yeah.
Think about the detective who solves the big case, maybe gets the girl.
Okay.
But to do it, he had to betray every single principle he held dear. Or maybe the grifter who finally scores the big fortune. Only now he's completely alone. Can't trust anyone. He's trapped, essentially, in this gilded cage of his own making.
Okay. So the cost isn't always death.
Not at all. It's more like the death of their spirit, maybe their innocence, or losing the trust of, the one person who really mattered. They're just stuck.
So here's the takeaway for you listening in. The whole point is that deep discomfort. You don't finish the film feeling satisfied or like everything's wrapped up neatly.
No clean bow.
Definitely not. You walk away, like the source says, with a knot in your gut, a quiet question burning in your mind. Was it worth it? Because in noir, there just are no clean victories. There are choices. And then there's the slow internal price you pay for them. It forces you, the viewer, to just sit with that uncertainty.
And that brings up how these endings manage to stick with you, right?
Yeah.
How they achieve that lasting discomfort. Sometimes it's not a big dramatic scene at all. It's what the material calls a whisper moment. Insights from studying the genre point to things like a phone call never returned, a light that goes out in a room, or just the absence of a goodbye. These really subtle, unresolved things, they can stick with you longer than a bullet.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, precisely because they deny you that neat conclusion, right? Your mind keeps chewing on the unsaid bits, the implications. It's,
yeah,
unsettling.
So what this really means then is that in the whole shadowy world of noir, just surviving isn't the same as winning.
Not even close.
It's just another day on the grind, but maybe now you're carrying this heavy, unseen weight. It's that really subtle, kind of insidious unraveling that defines the genre's impact.
Exactly, that erosion.
So let's sum this up. The real power, the lasting power of a film noir ending, it isn't usually in some overt catastrophe. It's in its unsettling quality. It's that slow, almost quiet erosion that leaves a mark, much more than a quick, tragic explosion might.
And maybe if we pull back a bit, connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Well, in your own life, when you're chasing something hard or you make one of those tough choices, are you always thinking about the hidden costs? The unstated ones.
Wow. Yeah.
What small victories, might lead to that quiet, uncomfortable erosion of something maybe more valuable. Could be your peace of mind or, a core principle.
That's a really good point. So next time you're watching a noir film, or really any story, pay attention to that ending. Ask yourself, does the victory actually feel clean?
Yeah.
Or does it leave you with that kind of lingering, unsettling question? Was it really worth it? When you think of film noir, what image pops into your head?
Oh, usually the classics, right.
Yeah.
Smoky rooms, maybe those sharp lines from Venetian blinds.
Yeah, or rain glistening on a dark street, that tilted camera angle.
Exactly. Those are definitely the iconic visuals we all know.
But what if, and this is what we're digging into today, what if those images are just the surface?
What if the real core of noir is somewhere else entirely?
Precisely. Our mission really is to explore this idea that maybe the essence of noir lies way beyond those familiar shadows.
And the core idea, just to put it out there, is that this perspective argues film noir is fundamentally about systems, not shadows.
Right, which that really flips the script on how most people think about it.
Completely. It's a significant shift.
So let's talk about those visuals again. Our source material actually calls them out directly: the Venetian blinds, cigarette smoke, tilted camera angles.
Yeah, we've seen them countless times. They create a mood, definitely.
But the argument here is that these are just, quote, surface markers, not the thing itself.
They're the atmosphere, the style perhaps, but not the engine driving the story.
Okay, so if it's not the visuals, what is the engine?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The argument pivots. He says noir is really about systems, social, economic, political.
Systems. How so?
Systems designed basically to keep people in their place. And they're not physical things you can point to.
Ah, okay, so not like buildings or...
No, the source calls them invisible machines. Think rules, power structures, social contracts, and economic forces.
Invisible forces that dictate what happens.
Exactly. They shape everything the characters do, subtly pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Right.
It's like this hidden code running the world on screen.
You don't see the code itself, but you definitely feel its impact.
Precisely.
So how does thinking about it this way change how we see the classic noir characters, like the detective?
It changes things profoundly. Take the detective. He isn't just fighting, random crime.
Right.
This analysis says he's actually fighting the fact that the law and crime are just different departments in the same company.
Wow, okay. So the whole structure is compromised.
That's the implication. The very thing meant to create order is tangled up with the disorder. It makes finding real justice almost impossible.
And what about the corrupt cop? He's a common figure.
Well, he's not just one bad guy. He's seen as part of the mechanism that keeps the wheels turning. He helps the system function, even if it's corruptly.
I see. And the femme fatale?
She's not simply a dangerous woman leading the hero astray. She's framed as a player navigating a world stacked against her.
So she's making choices within a system that limits her options.
Exactly. Desperate choices, often because the system itself offers her so little power or agency otherwise.
So if law and crime are basically working together in this system, what does that feel like for someone stuck inside it?
It must feel like entrapment, right? Like there's no real way out, no real control.
Let's talk more about the system itself then. How is it described?
The source material paints it as cold, efficient, and indifferent. It's not personal.
Not evil in a human sense, but just uncaring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The system doesn't care about justice or truth. What it cares about are things like balance sheets and maintaining control.
That really drives home the point you made earlier.
Yeah, that crime and law enforcement aren't really opposites in this view.
They're just, what was the phrase?
Different gears in the same machine.
Yeah.
Both serve to keep the system running, keep that status quo, regardless of who gets hurt.
So understanding this, it really does, like the source says, flip the whole genre.
It really does. It reframes the central conflict entirely.
It stops being about shadows hiding monsters.
And becomes about the daylight glare on a system that's already broken.
And everyone caught inside is just trying to find a way out or a way to survive.
Yeah, the focus shifts from individual bad guys to these larger societal structural problems.
Okay, that's a powerful reframing.
Ultimately, the real strength of film noir, according to this perspective, is its critique of those embedded systems, the ones you don't always see.
It's digging into the hidden workings of power, which goes much deeper than just the cool, moody look of the films.
Absolutely. The style draws you in, but the substance is in that systemic critique.
So here's a thought for you, listening right now. Next time you watch a film noir, or even maybe when you see something complex playing out in the real world, try to look past the immediate drama, the obvious surfaces. Ask yourself, what invisible systems might be at play here?
Yeah, what gears are turning underneath it all? It could really change how you see things.
Have you ever watched a movie One that just felt incredibly real, not because it looked exactly like your everyday life, but because it sort of captured some.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? What's key here is that noir doesn't feel the need to give you a hero you have to root for, or a tidy ending, or even like clear good guys and bad guys. Because let's face it, life rarely delivers that stuff either. So even when the plot goes big, the emotions at the core, desperation, greed, fear, that kind of weary resignation, they are completely universal, instantly recognizable. Think about a Walter Neff in Double Indemnity, just completely trapped by his own choices. That kind of human flaw, it just doesn't go out of style.
Right.
And, it's not only the emotional core. Think about the look of noir, the shadows, the harsh light, the contrast. That visual style isn't just for show. It actually mirrors the moral confusion, that feeling of being trapped where choices are murky. So the visuals actually reinforce that deeper psychological realism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's got to be why it connects so deeply. It just strips away all the pretense. Noir isn't trying to be a fantasy escape. It's definitely not about perfect heroes or like mustache-twirling villains. Instead, it really focuses on these flawed, stubborn, desperate people trying to live in a world that refuses to simplify itself.
Right.
There are characters you might, recognize parts of. Even if their situation is extreme, just normal people pushed way too far.
Absolutely. And if we look at the bigger picture, that focus on flawed humanity is exactly why it feels so authentic. It doesn't sugarcoat things. It doesn't pretend life offers neat solutions wrapped in a bow. No, it shows you the messiness, the compromises, the slow grind of everyday choices that don't make headlines but wear you down all the same.
You have to remember, noir really came into its own after World War II, a time of real disillusionment. That feeling of things being kind of out of control, that sense of dread, people genuinely felt that.
Yeah.
So you watch a noir film and you might think, yeah, that's how it really feels to be stuck, to be up against something you can't even quite see. And you'd be right. So if it's not about escape, what is noir's unique power then? It seems like it comes from how it holds up a mirror to the parts of life we usually try to, ignore. The loneliness, the really uncomfortable moral gray areas, and those invisible systems that push us around without apology. And it makes you look at those things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Internal stuff, external pressures, all of it.
And this really begs the question.
Yeah.
How does this realism make noir so timeless? I mean, sure, the surface details change. The cars, the clothes, the slang, that stuff dates a movie pretty quickly. But the core human struggles, ambition versus regret, guilt, just basic survival, the huge cost of our choices, those things are constant. They're just part of being human. That makes noir's themes just as relevant now as they were 70 years ago.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? About our own lives, those invisible systems maybe we don't always see day to day. So yeah, if a movie leaves you feeling a bit unsettled, maybe because it feels like it's showing you your life, but through a cracked mirror, showing you things you didn't really want to see, but you can't look away, well, congratulations, you've definitely experienced noir.
Maybe think about that cracked mirror effect next time. How does seeing those raw, unvarnished truths on screen help you understand your own life? Or just the sheer complexity of being human? Does it make you feel, more understood? Or maybe more challenged to face your own stuff? It's something to consider. The trench coat, the rain, shadows everywhere.
Right.
Maybe a smoky bar.
Right, the classic images.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, those visuals are iconic. They're definitely part of it. But we want to unpack what's really going on beneath that surface.
Because that's where noir truly lives. It's not just looking dark.
So what makes it noir then?
Well, I'd say a film really earns that label when it starts revealing the cracks under the surface.
Cracks.
Yeah, think of them as these invisible fractures. Places where the light just doesn't reach and where, people's real shadows emerge. It's less about just the look and more about how the film uses everything. The shadows, yes, but also the cramped cityscapes, the dialogue, to expose this fragile, almost grinding machinery of human weakness.
Weakness, selfishness.
Selfishness, survival instincts, all the raw stuff. Noir shows you just how fast trust can dissolve, how ambition kind of quietly eats away at someone's character.
Until there's nothing left.
Pretty much. And that line between, say, the victim and the person responsible, it gets incredibly blurry. Sometimes it just vanishes altogether.
So no straightforward heroes or villains.
Not really. What you get are people. People caught in these systems that are just bigger than them. They're just trying to find some solid ground,
But the ground keeps shifting.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps shifting beneath their feet.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. And it's amazing how these films actually create that feeling, that unsettling effect. It's in the themes, but also the filmmaking itself, right?
Absolutely.
Like the sources often talk about the origins, how it came out of a very specific time, that post-war feeling.
Oh, definitely. That's crucial. Many trace Noir's DNA right back to post-World War II America. It was a time of, frankly, deep cynicism, disillusionment.
People coming home changed.
Right. Soldiers returning to a world that maybe didn't feel as stable or as morally clear as the one they thought they were fighting for. That sense of betrayal, of ambiguity, this feeling that maybe society itself was corrupt. Noir was the perfect vessel for that.
And visually.
Yeah.
It buried heavily, didn't it?
It did. From German Expressionism, mainly. Those really stark, high-contrast shadows, the weird angles, the distorted perspectives. It makes the world look as messed up as the characters feel inside.
Creates that mood instantly.
And the stories often came from hard-boiled detective fiction. Very bleak, very unsentimental views on crime, on human nature. Think about The Big Sleep. Marlowe's navigating this world where even the quote-unquote good guys are operating in shades of gray.
Yeah, definitely shades of gray. So it's born from history, has this distinct visual style, this narrative core, and then you have the characters, these unforgettable figures, often dangerous.
Yeah.
The archetypes, like the femme fatale, how do they fit into those invisible fractures you mentioned?
Well, they're not just stock characters, not just tropes. They're almost like manifestations of those internal breaks.
Okay.
Take the femme fatale. She's often presented as just this beautiful, manipulative woman, right? But she's usually much more. Maybe she represents a desperate grab for power, for agency, in a world dominated by men.
Or maybe she reflects the protagonist's own issue.
Exactly. His own hidden desires, his weaknesses. Think Phyllis Dietrichson in Double Indemnity. Her ambition, it's terrifying, yes, but it's also a mirror. It shows the lengths people go to, and it pulls Walter Neff, this supposed fall guy, into a trap largely of his own making, fueled by his own desires.
He wasn't entirely innocent.
Far from it. And it's similar with other archetypes. The lone wolf detective, the doomed everyman. They're trapped not just by circumstance, but often by their own flaws. Pride, lust, greed. Sometimes just plain bad luck. It's their internal landscape that seals their fate.
It's clear this is so much more than just a style then. It's like a whole worldview, crafted really carefully.
Meticulous.
And that craft, like you said, it doesn't just entertain us, it pulls us in. So, okay, let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you when you're watching one of these films? How does it affect you?
That's a really important question, actually. Because Noir isn't just showing you a story about those people over there.
Right.
It kind of implicates you. It makes you feel like you're standing right there in the room, you know, while the shady deals are being made, while the lies get whispered.
While these huge, life-altering choices are just quietly accepted.
Precisely. You're not just watching shadows move on a screen. You're seeing the marks those shadows leave on people, how they twist them, how they shape them from the inside.
It definitely gets under your skin. I think that's why it stays with you. Because maybe it reflects something uncomfortable, something unavoidable.
I think that's exactly it. If you connect all these dots, the darkest stories Noir tells, they aren't really about some external evil, some monster lurking out there in the night.
They're closer.
Much closer. They're about what's potentially already inside us, just, waiting for the right moment, the right pressure to slip out.
Wow.
It's a powerful thought, maybe a bit unsettling, but it really invites you to think about that potential for darkness within all of us.
Exactly. So maybe a final thought for you to consider as you watch these films, or even just look around, thinking about this idea, this indifferent universe. Where else might you see that? What other stories, or maybe even parts of life, could this perspective help you understand a bit differently?
That is definitely something to chew on, a really insightful angle on Noir. Thanks for unpacking that with us.
My pleasure.
Keep exploring these ideas, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.